Okay, my life is so friggin' amazing. Okay, so I don't know what time it is. It's like 11:15, probably at night. I've been flying for a day and a half since Australia. So far, like, they didn't lose my luggage. That's a really good thing. I made all my flights. The extra bag charge, okay, get this though. This is like going out for Qantas. I'm not going to hold back. I'm not one of these people that ever like poo-poos. Everybody has their moments, whatever. Okay, Qantas lost my luggage. Didn't do anything about it. Like, here's a voucher, here's a nothing. And then they charged me $300 for my second bag. I almost didn't make my flight because the lady was being such a... Anyways, I was just like, are you kidding me? That is such a slap in the face after losing my luggage. Now you're going to charge me $300? Anyways, I was almost in tears as I was ready to board, and I was going up and I was asking the people at the gate, is there, like, would you be willing to do an upgrade? Anything. Like, come on, this was just awful. And then, so she called somebody to see what she could do. Her name was Gwen. My mom's name is Gwen. My mom's been gone for 22 years, gone. And then she called Gabriel. That's my son. I'm like, okay, the angels are about. And I just lost it. As soon as it happened, I started crying. And she's like, oh, my love, with her like sweet Australian accent. She goes like, well, and then, and get this. So you know how Scott didn't come with me on this trip because whatever, broke up again. It's over. But he bought a ticket, but they were going to give his seat away to someone else and make a fast buck at the last minute. I'm like, oh, hell no. So that was like the last straw. And so this woman, she's like, she blocked the seat so that nobody could sit in his seat on the flight home, which should be how it is anyways. Anyway, so I had spaciousness for the 15-hour and 40-minute flight all the way home. So anyways, I get here. So everything's fine. I'm just going to, like, ain't nobody going to get me down. And then I get back and my phone doesn't work. It doesn't understand that we're in America now. And I couldn't get an Uber. I couldn't send a text. I couldn't get internet. I couldn't make a phone call. It was dead. Like, my phone was like... So I go over to the taxi stand because at least I have cash. So I'm like, can you just drive me for 3.5 hours to Charlotte? They're like, yes, for $750. So I'm like, you know what? I think the universe is just saying you should sleep. You should sleep. So, oh my God, I have this like king size bed, killer bathroom, like little suite ensemble. I can have all my like breakfast fixins in the morning. So, but then they wouldn't let me get on the shuttle to go to a hotel without having a reservation. I'm like, I can't call, I can't text, I can't go online. And the guy's like, lady, get in my truck, get in the van, whatever it is. So I get in the van, and there's another person who said, yeah, that happened to me when I got back from Switzerland. My phone didn't work for like 3 hours until whatever. So anyways, here I am. I have a room, I have a comfy bed, I'm gonna have a shower. And then tomorrow, my phone's now working. So I guess it took like an hour or something to work. So I'll get an Uber home tomorrow. But the guy that drove me from the airport, he's like, I drive Uber and I'll take you. I'll make more cash. I'll take you tomorrow. So I think he's going to drive me tomorrow. What a funny day this is. Oh, and as we go into part 2 with Larry, very similar things went, one thing after another thing after another thing after another thing, right? I can't remember what part of the podcast, if it was the beginning or the end, that he's telling us all about this. But it's like, who are you going to be when like one thing after another just keeps blowing up in your face? Getting attached doesn't really do any good. Resisting and reacting doesn't really do any good. I'd say having a good cry when you've just hit your limit. That's what I do. But again, we're fine. We're fine. Everything's fine. There's so much to be grateful for. And the more we move through things with calmness, the more they continue to flow, and our little angels show up to take care of us. And as I was just checking in, this lovely gentleman was saying how he's going to Bermuda tomorrow. His daughter just wrote her bar exams, and he and his wife are so proud of her. They're taking her to Bermuda. And I'm just like, see, there's so much to celebrate. There's so much to celebrate for our tenacity, our fortitude, our willingness to keep going, and our willingness to surrender. So I'm going to go to bed. Enjoy this podcast with the amazing Larry Hagner. And may him, his life, and the way he shows up, especially for this most recent book, really, really move me. All right, all my love. Welcome to Intimate Conversations. Become the one. Intimacy is an inside job. Brave men learn to receive, not just provide and protect, but it's the figure eight, right? If you just give, protect, provide, no, I'm fine, I'm good. You don't learn how to receive. To me, the divine is coming through your son, through his eyes. But if you're not open to receiving it, it stops and he just talks at you, but you let him talk into you. So it moved you. And then it moved him. And like the figure eight energy of the divine is having its way with both of you and your friggin' knee, right? And giving your son this ability to go, wow, I can make a difference by just giving myself over to God and loving another. Like, to me, providing, protecting, thank you. But more than that even is presence. Presence. Yeah. Presence. And that's the masculine energy in all of us. Can we just be present with what's so? Not pull away, not say you're fine when you're not brush it away, not close your heart. How brave of you in your most vulnerable state to receive from him. Oh my God, what a gift you were to him and what a gift he was to you. How's your knee?
It's pretty much fine now.
Okay.
I'm back to doing things that I used to do, which is good,
Mm.
and
Mm.
back to running like I used to. I ran 3 miles last week faster than what I did before I got hurt. So that it's really interesting. It was almost like I was put in that place during the time that I needed to be there, and then like the book comes out, and suddenly things are back to kind of how they were, which is really fascinating. It's really
Mm.
fascinating.
It's a great segue into defining faith or exploring this concept of faith. I'm not a big Bob Proctor fan, although bless him and thank him for, like, we walk on the shoulders of giants, right? Who came before our, age of personal growth. And there's a quote, and I believe it is, both faith and fear require you believe in something you can't see. Choose. And when I first started exploring this quote with my clients, to me, there's a way to have faith that's just in your head. Fear clearly is in your head. Close your heart. You're afraid. The only place to go are your spinning thoughts in your head. But sometimes faith is like sort of fantasy, like a good attitude, like, oh, it's all love and light. It's all going to be fine. But it's not rooted in having an ego death, having sat in your body and felt terror. What if I die and leave my kids and this whole company falls? All the thoughts that you had, integrating panic, maybe even self-loathing. What did I do wrong? Maybe even hatred at God. Like, when you really sit in the fire and you integrate all that shit, to me anyways, there's a place, and I'm going to call it my hips, my soul. It's through an open heart, but it's even deeper. It's kind of like a sailboat. It's like the keel, like way down in the water. It's very silent, and you just know what you know. To me, that's faith. Regardless of circumstances, I know God is in, as in through me, always has been, always will be, and I surrender. Bring it. And I only got here through hell. Tell us about how you define faith.
So I think it's interesting. I mean, there's a lot of different things that I've learned, and a lot of different things that I've seen and experienced now. And faith, I think for me, is believing that there's a plan at work
Mm.
that is for my good that I might not understand. Right.
Right.
I think I'm a huge fan of The Chosen, and there's this really iconic. Do you watch The Chosen? Have you ever seen it? Okay.
No, tell me.
So I mean, it's basically a series. It's an independent film. Jonathan Romy plays Jesus. They're now in season 4 of 7 seasons.
Okay.
But it's basically like it's a mini series. Every season has about 8 episodes. Like, the best way I can describe it, I know it sounds kind of odd, but if you're a fan of like This Is Us, which I kind of gravitated towards that show because my wife really liked it, and I was like, oh, this is like really interesting. But the filmography, like how they film it, right, is like really interesting because you as a viewer, you not only relate to the characters, but you get like this really intertwined sort of like human experience and the emotions that they feel, the uncertainty, the good, the bad, and everything. It's like it really just wraps you into like this sort of real world type thing.
Mm.
And the way that Chosen is filmed is think of that, but think of it as Jesus and the apostles. And basically the whole thing is the last year of his life.
Wow.
And when he was really coming into everything and everything's Bible based. But like, you read the Bible and you always think like, well, these disciples just knew all along, like, oh, they were 100% in and like they didn't question a thing and they just followed, right? And that's not the case at all. Like they were just like, do you know what's going on? No, I really don't. Do you? No, I really like. I'm totally like, we thought this Messiah guy was going to be like this giant soldier warrior, and he's like this dude, right? He's homeless, right? And so like you really get to understand like that human experience of what they were experiencing, right? And I also
Yeah,
like
yeah.
how Jonathan Rumi plays the part just so well. But there's this conversation that Jesus has with one of the high priests, and his name is Nicodemus, and this is in John chapter 3:16. This is where like this is what made the verse popular. So like Nicodemus sits down because he's pretty sure that Jesus is the Messiah, but he just wants a conversation with him because the high priest didn't believe that he was.
Mm.
So they sit down, and Nicodemus, Jesus is explaining certain things and he's like, I don't understand. And Jesus is like, he's like, you're a teacher of Israel, but you don't understand these things. And all of a sudden, like Jesus kind of starts to think and the wind blows.
Mm.
And hey, do you feel that? And Nicodemus is like, the wind? And he said, yeah. He goes, do you know where it's coming from? And he goes, no. And he goes, do you know where it's going? He goes, no. He goes, that's what it's like to be led by the Spirit.
Yeah,
This,
that's
like,
beautiful.
yeah, he's like, the Spirit will speak through you and in you, right? And while
Yeah,
you don't
yeah.
understand where the Spirit is leading you, right? Just know that that is where the Spirit is led. And to have faith is to follow that wind, regardless of
Mm.
where it's going to take you.
Mm.
And I
Mm.
was like, oh my gosh, so it's like, that's what I feel that faith is, that there's a way that the wind is blowing that's leading me. I need to choose to allow that wind, and to know that I'm not there alone.
Yeah. Oh, I love this. That's why I asked that question at the retreat. How does the divine ache to know itself as you? Because to me, and then I want to ask a follow-up question. Yes, the breeze, and I can go, oh, you want me to go this way? Okay, divine will, I surrender. To me, it's not just outside in like wind, it's an inner wind. It's an
Yes.
inner ache, an inner, and that's why I wanted to ask you. I believe you said faith is the belief. And this is like the title, From Head to Heart. What if beliefs are just made up? Is it a belief or is it a knowing? And to me, knowing is trumps belief, because I can believe one thing one day and the earth is round, now the earth is flat. But there's like a knowing that, in my experience, the divine is everything all right?
Yeah, it's just summer and my 16-year-old's asking to go somewhere. So yeah.
Okay, it's all good. All
Yeah.
right.
They bomb
So
every podcast
I
in
love
the
it.
summertime.
Perfect. 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 So the belief in the head from all the, conscious, like an iceberg, our beliefs are just that tiny part on top of the water. The subconscious is that huge iceberg under the water. It's like in the realm of like pre-thought, pre-verbal, it's knowing. So would you say that you're in writing this book and all that you experienced, have you shifted from a belief of the mind to a knowing of the body, of the heart within you as you
Yeah.
talk about faith?
So I
Does someone need to
it's
talk you into it or can talk you out of it? Or is it like unshakable? It's like in your bones.
so I at times like I don't want to listen to it myself, but I really listen to like that I would say the more intuitional intelligence, right? The thing that's pulling you. So like for instance, when I was asked to write the book, like on paper, I was like 11 weeks, like, and I'm not the guy for this. Like, I'm not the guy for this, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm just like, but what it was really telling me is, like, and I felt this big
Mm.
time. The
Mm.
felt, that what I felt underneath all this was, you have to write it. Like, you need to write this book.
Yeah.
And, you saying no to it, I felt was going against everything I stood for, even though I was just like, if I could make like even a quote on it, um, saying no to it felt like I was going against everything I stood for, but saying yes to it felt impossible. Like it
Wow.
literally felt impossible. Like I was just like, this is 11 weeks. And then I got hurt. When I got hurt, I was like, well, now I have a way out. Like
Yeah, I have an excuse.
I'm not in the
Mm,
right mindset for it. I can't write in this mindset, that kind of thing.
mm,
But
mm.
yet I just kept going.
Yeah.
And but that's what it felt like to be led. And there was one statement that kept
Mm,
me going through it.
mm,
And that is, even if it costs me everything, I'm gonna finish this. Even if
mm,
it costs me everything, I'm going to finish it. And I did. And
mm,
that is like that one statement. And I don't even think that was a statement that was mine. Like I don't know if I can call that mine. Like I think
mm.
that was like the spirit working in me.
Yeah. Well, I think it did, thank God, cost you your ego,
Yeah,
or a big chunk of it. Thank goodness that part died. And I do think it was impossible for your ego to finish that book, but not impossible for you in spirit to finish that book.
I
Spirit
would
in us
agree.
and through you. Yeah.
I would agree. Yeah.
I find it curious that you're running faster after all of this, not just hopefully a great operation and a healthier knee, but like you are fueled by a combination of not just the amazing Larry, the ego and the accomplished provider, protector, and dad's edge and all the rest of it. It's like, to me, it's not how it is, I know, but it's like my little visual in my head. God and the goddess in heaven, scotch and cigars. They're like, okay, do we have a live one? Oh, we have an empty one here. We've got Larry. He's totally emptied out. His ego died. We can pour so much more love, light into him because, wow, he can make an even bigger impact for humanity, which is the greatest. Like, it's so humbling, but I sense that's what's happening with your running. I'm curious if we take that same energy over to you and Jess, um, the love you have for her, the intimacy, the connection, the sacred sexuality, the energy just in a kiss, a gaze. You're here, you're still together. Like, how has your marriage deepened through this experience?
So it really did, it deepened a lot. And I think a lot of it had it, and it didn't feel great while it was happening. And I'll
I
share with you
doubt
why.
it.
Like, yeah,
Yeah.
it actually feels really good. Like when you feel like you're kicking ass and taking names, and you've your organization's on fire, and your marriage is on fire, and I mean that in a good way, right? And like
Yeah.
kids are thriving, everybody's doing good, and you're just like, man, like, and it goes back to what you were saying, which by the way, I just learned something on this podcast as well, is that when we're so fixated on the external feeding the internal, you're in trouble, right? And that's
Totally.
what I was looking at all these external things that were happening, and I'm like, man, like this is great, right? But the thing that I was missing big time was the danger in that, right? The danger, and like that was the measuring stick the whole time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like when suddenly like Jess had to start driving me places, and I needed crutches, and I couldn't go up and down stairs, and like I'm just like, I literally started to feel I am worthless in this relationship.
Mm, mm,
Like I am not the guy who's pulling my weight right now. And
mm.
I got here's the trap I fell into, and I wrote about this in the book as well, because I know better, and I also wrote about how to get out of this as well,
Mm.
which is I retreated a lot in our relationship, and
Same.
I complained, and I was in a bad headspace, and I didn't, the ego was trying to protect me, like I didn't want any help, right? And I got really kind of upset and short when I needed to get the help, and
Yeah.
like I was just not a great partner.
Thank
And
you.
I had to have tough conversations with Jessica. She was just like things like, she would just be like, like I know you were under the gun, like you had this book and you didn't know what your health was going to look like. And she's like, but you also, a lot of times you responded well, but a lot of times you did not respond very well. Like you don't do well when the world is crumbling. And I was like,
Mm,
yeah, I kind of didn't, I just felt like the pressure cooker of everything.
mm, mm.
And I was like, I don't know what the answer is to that. And she's like, just for a season,
Yeah.
she goes, it's really okay to accept help from your
Yes.
kids, from
Yes.
me, and the more you push us away because you don't want the help, the more damage you actually do to the relationship because you think you just need to be so independent. And
Totally.
and she's like, and when you don't let us in, it's like a smack in the face. And I was like, wow,
Yeah.
I just didn't know that. And so I had to learn that last lesson as well.
Wow. I'm so glad you did. And I'm so glad we're talking about this because when we are miswired and our worth is outside in and the outside crumbles, we blame ourselves, self-hatred, self-loathing. And then we take it another notch and we hate God. And then we're separated from ourselves and we're separated from God and we're not much of a contribution to the family, right? So how have you shifted your relationship with yourself? To me, I do these little things when I do my group coaching. I'm like, it's really easy to love ourselves when things go well, but what about the other half? Because if we're truly going to unconditionally love our children, unconditionally love ourselves, unconditionally love our partner, it's got to be inside out. It's got to be self first. It's got to be, even though I'm a hot mess, I love and accept myself, right? Even though the company might, Lord knows where it's going, I love and accept myself. Even though I might not be able to make love to my wife, or I've been cranky pants, or I might die, I love and accept myself. And that creates connection with self, which to me instantly is like a Shazam connection to God. So it's like little Russian dolls. God's got our back. We've got our little yous back. We're whole, we're home, we're present, we're a contribution. And to me, it's very humbling because I thought you only liked me because I wore a push-up bra or, this kind of silly thing. Or I paid for something or I created a result for you. Like it was something I did. It's not who I be. And
Right.
when I got, wow, you mean I could just be and I'm still not only enough, but my presence and my vulnerability is actually a contribution for you to feel safe, to be honest with me too. Oh my God. That's why I'm an intimacy expert, not a roofer. Although thank you for roofers. There's nothing more important to me than our intimate relationship with ourselves because it's equal to our relationship with God, which is equal to every relationship we have. It's even the relationship with your knee. I hate you, knee. Well, that's not going to make it get better very fast, right? Even having oneness with our body. So yeah, tell us about your deepened relationship with your wobbly parts as well as your magnificent parts and your relationship with God. Because you said you were mad, pissed at God, right?
I was really, and even like, I would say up until like a few months ago, like it was just like, it was leading up to like this release of this book. And I remember like we were like, even like my 10-year-old got diagnosed with like a rare eye disorder,
Mm.
where his eyes don't track properly.
Mm-hmm.
And, so he needs therapy, like, you know, every day for the next 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the other thing too, like we were just hit with like medical, like I have shitty insurance, horrible
Mm-hmm.
health insurance because I'm self-employed.
Yeah,
And we were just
same.
getting like slammed with like medical bills over and over.
Yeah.
And I told my wife, I was like, I'm so angry. Like sometimes I feel like even angry at God, even though like I know that like I'm trying to be led and I know that this is for the greater good and all this other stuff, but I'm so angry.
Yeah.
And
It's
I was like, I'm trying to like do all these really positive things, right? Like to
yeah.
move relationships forward and families forward and the kingdom of God forward and like all these other things. And I'm just getting challenged. And I'm angry about that. Like, why is that? And my wife even was like, I think that she's like, quite frankly, I just think those are the wrong questions. And I
Mm.
was like, well, and my wife's obviously a genius. Like she's just really good at this kind of stuff. And I go, what do you mean? She goes, well, instead of like blaming and getting angry, what would it look like if you were to say, well, what are the lessons here?
Yeah,
Like
totally.
what am I trying to be taught here? Like what do I still need to learn here that I haven't learned? And I would say it's in those conversations that has rebuilt our intimacy. It's those times where like I completely like let down the guard in front of my wife and not in like this like kind of like the best way I can describe it is the way she would describe it, like icky feminine like energy, like where you feel like you're just a wuss and you're bitching and moaning.
Not a victim.
Not a victim, but it's more like these conversations of like, what do you think of this?
Yeah.
Like this is where I'm at. Like, and us being able to actually work together to reprogram like how we look at the world. And
Mm.
that's what I find is like really fascinating because my wife sent me a little graphic today. She's like, she goes, you asked me a lot what holds our marriage together. And there was a lot of things that
Mm.
she said, and it'd probably just be better if I just read this, which I thought was so fascinating. She said, you asked me a lot, how is it we keep our marriage together? And when we're old, and you're going to ask me again, how did we manage to get here together? And this is how I'm going to answer you because it's all true. Instead of yelling, we talked.
Mm.
Instead of running away from our problems, we looked for solutions together because nothing was lost to us, because we laughed and we cried together, because one day we promised to be together through the good and the bad, and together we made it. But mainly because we have been given a dimension in our relationship together, and love never dies, period.
Mm.
And I thought that was just the thing where she actually said that we come to each other with problems, but we're a couple that we look for the solutions.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, like, does that have anything to do with the bedroom? Maybe not directly, but like indirectly, like that makes us a team, which makes us more intimate, which makes us more connected, which makes us better parents and lovers and everything.
Oh, it's everything. I mean, it's not about, excuse how graphic this is, sticking a penis in a hole. That's not what it's about. It's just, there's a dimension when you just kiss because you've been transparent and vulnerable together. It's an energy and it's real. It's a dimension. You can just look at someone or look into them. You can kiss at them or kiss into them. You can, be that space for them to be received, or just pat them on the back with a shallow little, oh, it'll be fine. Like, all of this is intimacy. Yeah. And then you bring sex into it on top of that, like, look out. But just being held while you're on the same team, Larry, how beautiful. I'm so pleased. I'm so pleased. I'm so pleased you allowed yourself to be human and go through this and to show your wobbly side and to let her go, hey, this isn't working. What if we look at what's the gift in this, the message in this,
Mhm.
in all areas, and have the family dinner with all the boys. And maybe on this cruise, you can say, okay, so how is our life actually better because of what we just went through? Physically, environmentally, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, vocationally, financially, parentally, socially, romantically, and for the two of you sexually. Like, how is our late? Like, if you look, you will see, oh my goodness, how the divine has had its way with you and you received it and let yourself be transformed. God, every time we talk, Larry, you get cooler and cooler. I'm just,
Well,
wow.
back at you. Well, you're always
Mm,
cool. I mean, you're always cool.
thank you. Thank you. I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy for you. And I'm not sorry that you went through the difficult times. I'm inspired because you did the work. You sat in the fire. Yeah, I'm really inspired.
Well, thank you.
Okay, so everybody, we have to get the book, The Spirit of Fatherhood. You've heard the story behind the story, and now you get to drink in what you've heard today, and you can feel the energy of this man, his heart, his soul, his leadership, his fatherhood. Yeah. Also, your site, thedadedge.com. It's all in the show notes, but there's a beautiful 25 intimate conversation starters that, as we said before, we're big into questions around here, which will support your marriage. How would you like to complete this conversation, love? What did you value about our time? What, moved you, or what would you like the listeners to really embody, taste before we complete?
Well, first of all, every time I'm around you, I feel like I learned something new, which is so cool. But I
Mm,
think it's this way of being versus doing. And I think if anything that the audience could remember is something that you said that, as soon as we start looking for all those measuring sticks that are outside of us,
mm,
that's when we could get in trouble
mm,
versus like, we are way more than what the shell of this, head to toe is and the things that we do, but the way that we are and the way that we be.
mm. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, yeah. I will invite all of you, as you're finishing watching this or listening to this, don't please go off and go on social media or do whatever. Just please sit your ass somewhere in nature and let whatever this conversation has touched in you to grow. If it makes you mad, if it makes you sad, if it makes you inspired, whatever it does, allow Larry's incredible journey that he shared with us today to move the trajectory like a ship. If you just change it 1 degree, you're going to end up in a different country one day. So allow this conversation, his love, his bravery, and his surrender to be that beautiful catalyst in your life. And yeah, I'm so grateful for our friendship. Give Jess and all the kids my love. And until next time, thedadedge.com. Please follow this man on Instagram as well. And yeah, I love you with all my heart, brother.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Okay. Much love to all of you. Thank you
Much love to you too.
Yeah. Thanks for letting me love the shit out of you every single week here on Intimate Conversations. See you next week on Intimate Conversations. Get out there and make love to life.
Well, life is awesome. I'm in a rocking chair. The world is really wild. I don't think the universe wanted me to go after traveling for days, a day and a half, to go straight back to the home of the ex-boyfriend and feel maybe not so terribly relaxed. I think the universe just wanted me to, after all that travel, just to replenish and be able to have a good sleep and feel safe. And when I get back, my driver, who took me to the hotel, as you heard from the beginning of this little intro outro of the podcast, he texted me this morning and said he rearranged his day so he can take me to Charleston. So that's awesome. He's going to make more money. I'm going to pay less money. I just love these win-win situations. And he's just a few minutes late. So that's okay. I'm just going to sit here in a rocking chair and talk to you. And it reminds me that the universe always has our back. When I react, it's almost like I close my heart or lower my energy, and the joyous support of the universe, I can't even see it. It can't even move into my vortex. But when I'm like, okay, surrender, stay positive, stay open, stay alert, but not like freaked out alert, just like, okay, universe, what are you doing? These incredible angels show up. This is just amazing. And so just like following along with Larry's story in this podcast, how he's like, I'm not supposed to write that book. Oh, yes, he is. And how the book, it's almost like the book wrote him. The universe had its way with him, and he was willing so bravely and courageously to show up and to be transformed into an even greater man than he already is. Like, is that even possible? Apparently. The guy just gets deeper and deeper. His heart gets bigger and bigger. He's bigger and bigger. And he's just such a huge gift to this planet. Please follow him if you're not. Please check out his men's work, dad's work. He's got an event coming up, I believe, in October in Florida. He's got his memberships. He's got his book. Let him bless your life. He is literally a blessing to this planet. It is such an honor to call him my brother, just my sister. Yeah, just really, really good people. Surround yourself with good people. Don't listen so much to the mind, listen to the body. How does it feel listening to his wisdom? Yeah, he's the real deal. All right, and so are we around here. If there is a community, a conscious community, where you want to feel safe, never judged, encouraged, to be your best self, and let it be safe to be human in the process. We are an extraordinary group of people, and we would love to have you walk with us on your journey of intimacy with self and other and the divine in your body and the whole thing. So I think that's him pulling up. I'm going to get on the road here. So please check out Larry. Please check out the work that we're here to do. And I love you with all my heart.